Welcome back, students. So in this video we will discuss what are the methods to increase and decrease friction. So you know the disadvantages of friction. Friction produces wastage of energy, causes wear and tear of objects or surfaces. It produces heat energy also. So how we can reduce friction and what are the methods to increase friction? Yeah, only one method is to increase friction, that is to make the surface rough. Only one method is there to increase friction, that is to make the surface rough. So you know rough surface having more friction. Rough surface having more friction. So only one method is there to increase friction, that is make the surface rough. Make the surface rough. So that can be done in this way by making the surface rough. Friction can be increased by increasing the roughness of the surface in contact. For example, the surface of the head of a matchstick and the sides of the matchbox are deliberately made rough to increase the friction to produce more heat, because of which the matchstick catches fire easily. So the head of the matchstick and the side of the matchbox are rough. So when one contact moves over the other, due to friction, the matchstick will light up easily. So to make the surface rough, that is a method to increase friction. So many examples are given in your textbook. Why the sole of your shoes are grooved. It is done to provide the shoes a better grip on the floor so that you can move safely. Similarly, threaded tires are used in cars or in automobiles. Okay, why we are using threaded tires? Because they will give a better grip on the ground. They will give a better grip with the ground. So rough surface, friction will be more. We deliberately increase friction by using brake pads in the brake system of the automobiles or bicycles. When we are riding a bicycle, actually the brake pad do not touch the wheels. When you are riding the bicycle, the brake pad do not touch the brake wheels. When you press the brake lever, these brake pads arrest the motion of the rim due to friction. So when you apply brakes, these brake pads arrest the motion of the or stop the motion of the rim due to friction, and the wheel stops moving. So then two more examples are given there. Kabaddi players rub their hand with soil for a better grip of their opponent. Kabaddi players rub their hands with soil to get a better grip over their opponent. In the same way, gymnastics will apply a viscous substance on their hand to increase friction for a better grip. So all these are the methods how we can increase friction. Means just make the surface rough. Make the surface rough. So for rough surface, frictional force will be more. Now, what are the methods to decrease friction? That we will discuss here. Now, before that, methods to increase friction. You can see the patterns on this tire. Threads you can see. The patterns on these tires, that is threaded tires. So it will give a better grip between this tire and the road surface. Here you can see a patterns will be there on the sole of your shoe. That also help us to increase friction between the ground and the shoe. So we will not and it will reduce the chance of slipping. Now, what are the methods to decrease friction? By all these methods we can decrease friction. Okay, by all these methods we can decrease friction. So, first one is lubricating. Lubricating means you have to apply oil or grease. You have seen when the hinges of the doors are very tight, we will apply a small drop of oil or grease there so that it moves freely or its movement will be smooth. In the same way, automobile mechanics, they will use grease in order to avoid friction. We can't completely avoid it, but we can reduce it. So, there we use grease as a lubricant. You might have noticed that when a few drops of oil are poured on the hinges of a door, the door moves smoothly. A bicycle or a motor mechanic uses grease between the moving parts of these machines. In all the above cases, we want to reduce friction in order to increase the efficiency. In order to increase the efficiency, we need to reduce friction. So, what will happen when you apply lubricants on the moving parts of a machine? When you apply oil, grease or graphite between the moving parts of a machine, a thin layer is formed there between the moving surfaces so that the moving surfaces do not rub against each other. When you apply lubricant over the moving surface, the lubricant will form a thin layer and the moving surface will not rub against each other directly. So, the interlocking of the irregularities is avoided to a great extent. Movement becomes smooth. The substance which reduce friction are called lubricants. In some machines, it is not advisable to use oil as a lubricant. In that case, air cushion between the moving parts can be often used as a lubricant to reduce friction. So, suppose these are the, when you apply grease or oil in our hand, we feel it very slippery, isn't it? So, that grease will form a layer between the two surfaces which are moving, between the two surfaces which are moving or which are in contact. So, a lubricant form a thin layer between the moving parts of the machine and these moving parts do not rub against each other directly. When we apply a lubricant here between the moving parts of a machine, these two moving parts will not rub against each other directly. In between there a lubricant layer is there. So, the irregularities can be minimized, the interlocking of the irregularities can be minimized to a great extent. So, interlocking of irregularities is the reason for friction. So, friction can be minimized to a great extent. But in some cases, oil or grease cannot be used as a lubricant. In that case, we will use air, air cushion between the moving parts can be used as a lubricant to reduce friction. Now, second one, in the same way, talcum powder is used when you are playing carom boards. If you want to move the coin smoothly and very fast, you will apply talcum powder. You will apply talcum powder on the carom board so that the coin will move smooth and fastly. Okay, the coin will move smooth and faster. Then second method is by polishing. So, first method is by lubricating, second method is by polishing. Means when the surfaces are highly polished, the irregularities of the surface are covered, making them smoother. Consequently, the frictional force will be reduced. So, polishing means we will reduce amount of irregularities on the surface. So, smooth surface by making it very smooth. So, smooth surface is having less friction. Okay, smooth surface is having less friction. So, two methods over. First one is lubricating, second one is polishing. Then third one, using ball bearing. Ball bearing is a hollow circular device containing small metal balls which are fitted around the moving part of a machine like an axle. The ball bearing reduces friction by converting sliding friction into rolling friction. Sliding friction means when an object slides over the other. When an object slides over the other, then that frictional force is known as sliding friction. When an object rolls over the other surface, that is known as rolling friction. So, when an object is rolling over the another surface, there will not be any time for the locking of the irregularities. When one object moves over the other, then there will be a small time for the interlocking of the irregularities. So, when one object rolls over the other, that time will not be there for the interlocking of the irregularities. So, frictional force there will be very less. You can see a ball bearing in your fidget spinner, in the axle of your bicycle, axle of your fan. There you can see the ball bearing. This one is a ball bearing. Here you can see small tiny balls are there inside a hollow circular disc, and this one is a axle. For example, when the axle of a machine is fitted with ball bearing rotates, the metal balls also roll and hence the friction is reduced. Ball bearing is used in free wheels of bicycles, the axle of car, the shafts of motors and many other machines to reduce friction. So, ball bearings will reduce the friction. The diagram is there in your textbook. So, the luggage is fitted with rollers and wheels. We can easily shift it from one place to another. We can easily shift big luggages with wheels. What's the reason? There, that will reduce the friction. Wheels and rollers will reduce friction. That is the next point. By using rollers and wheels. We have just learned that many heavy objects like big boxes are provided with small wheels, that is known as rollers, to reduce friction so that they can be carried easily by pulling. Okay. So, rolling reduces friction. So, rolling friction means when an object rolls over the surface of another, the resistance of its motion is known as rolling friction. Rolling reduces friction. It is always easy to roll an object than slide an object. It is very easy to roll an object than slide an object. That's the reason why it is convenient to pull luggages fitted with rollers. Next one is streamlining. By streamlining, we can reduce friction. We have also learned that the bodies of cars, aeroplanes, etc. are streamlined to reduce air friction, and the bodies of boats and ships are streamlined to reduce the friction of water. So, streamlining that particular shape, that is the shape of the fish or the shape of the aeroplane. So, that shape will help to reduce frictional force exerted by the air or by the water. Okay. Frictional force exerted by the air is known as air friction, that by water is known as, or by liquids is known as viscous drag. That is by viscous drag. So, streamlining to reduce fluid friction. Fluids such as water and air also exerts friction on objects moving through them. The frictional force of the fluids exert on the object is called the drag. The nature has given birds and fish streamlined bodies. The bodies of aeroplanes, missiles, rockets, cars are streamlined to reduce friction with air, called air resistance. Ships are also streamlined shape. Ships also have streamlined shape to reduce friction with water. So, friction is minimum for a streamlined shape, which is rounded in the front and narrow at the back. Which is rounded in the front, that is the shape. Streamlined shape means rounded in the front and narrow at the back. That is about what are the methods to reduce friction. So, first one is with the help of lubricants, oil, grease, graphite or air can act as a lubricant. Second method is by polishing. Third method by using ball bearings. Fourth one by using rollers and wheels. Fifth one by streamlining. So many methods are there to reduce friction, but we can't reduce it to zero. Completely we can't eliminate friction. That is not possible. Okay, that is not possible. We can eliminate friction to an extent, but we can't completely remove it or make to zero. That is not possible. Okay, so only one method is there to increase friction, that is to make the surface rough. So many methods are there to decrease friction, but we can't make it to zero, or we can't eliminate friction. Okay, thank you.